All right, let's pick up where we are with our normal distribution and our standard normal distribution. Okay, the first question that I want to look at is this set of three graphs. And I want you to list the means and standard deviations in order from least to greatest. And if you recall when I had the graph up on Desmos, the mean does what? It shifts the graphs to the left or to the right. So the mean that would be the least would be the blue. Next greatest would be the red. And green would be the greatest mean. That's the order from left to right, because the mean is the center of each of those graphs. Here, I'll just type it in. So means order from least to greatest would go blue, red, green. Now, standard deviations. Standard deviations describes the spread of the graph. The graph that is the most compact, the least spread out, would have the smallest standard deviation. So that's blue. Red would be next. And green is the widest, the most spread out. That would have the greatest standard deviation. Now, does that mean that the graph with the greatest mean is going to have the greatest standard deviation? No, that was just how it worked out in this one. But I still want us to understand the concept. Mean is the middle, the line of symmetry of the graph. Standard deviation describes the graph's spread. All right, so let's get to the meat of what I'm going to be asking you to do here. Questions like this. The yearly wheat yield per acre in a particular farm is normally distributed with a mean 35 bushels and standard deviation of 8 bushels. What is the probability that the yield will be between 19 and 35 bushels per acre? The first thing you're going to want to do is sketch a normal distribution curve. I can just drag mine over here like that, which is pretty nice. I lost my ability to move it. Anyway, that'll be fine. So what we need to set up here is the distribution with a mean 35. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put the mean at the center of my distribution. So 35 goes there. That's the center. Now remember how the standard deviations head out to the right and to the left, by one standard deviation, one step. So when I look at my standard deviation of 8, recall that I said the point of inflection, which is about there, tells me that is one standard deviation from the mean. So I'm going to add my standard deviation, which was 8. 35 plus 8 is 43. Then I'm going to go about the same distance again, add another standard deviation, that's what, 51. Go the same distance again, I'm at 59. Heading the other direction, point of inflection, drop it down. Now we're one standard deviation to the left, so I'm subtracting 8. Then I'm going to go another standard deviation, subtract another 8, and one last standard deviation like this. That's how I map it out. If I were to convert this into the standard normal curve, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3. And we can use that to match this graph. So go back to the question. It's what's the probability that the yield will be between 19 and 35 bushels? Well, here's 19. There's 35. We're looking at this region. That corresponds to between -2 and 0 on this graph. It corresponds to this region. And what's the area of that region? What's the probability of being between there. That's 34% plus 13.5%. Which gives us what? 47.5%. Next question. What's the probability the yield will be greater than 27 bushels? Let me get rid of this then. All right, 27. Greater than. That's all of this, isn't it? It corresponds from -1, not to 3, but all the way to the right. So -1, all the way to the right, past 3, past 4. Remember, that never ends over there. So how am I going to figure that out? Okay. Well, I've got 34% right here. Now, I think the easiest way to think about this over here is it's half the curve. It's 50%, isn't it? So I'm going to be taking 34% plus 50%, half the curve. And I get a probability of 84%. I can't emphasize enough. Draw out your standard normal curve. Label it. Put the mean in. Start counting standard deviations each way. As you find these probabilities, okay, reference back to this diagram of percentages and use those to calculate your probabilities. So, I think with that said, we can talk some more about other examples later. That should be enough for you guys to get going and check your understanding of this and start practicing. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.